Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Woodstock, Georgia, it's time for Cherokee Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to Cherokee Business Radio. Stone Payton here with you this morning, and today's episode is brought to you in part by Alma Coffee, sustainably grown, veteran-owned, and direct trade, which of course means from seed to cup. There are no middlemen. Please go check them out at myalmacoffee.com and go visit their Roastery Cafe at 3448 Holly Springs Parkway in Canton. Ask for Harry or the brains of the outfit, Leticia, and tell them that Stone sent you. You guys are in for a real treat this morning. A little bit later in the broadcast, we're going to get a chance to visit with Oscar Velez with Three Brothers Painting. But first up on Cherokee Business Radio this morning, please join me in welcoming to the broadcast with Moving Target ATL, Miss Kara Frenkel. Good morning.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
I am so delighted to have you in the studio. This has been a while in the making, a while in the planning. Did we first meet maybe over here at Reformation at the Woodstock Business Club, or was it somewhere else?
It was at Woodstock Business Club.
How many people have I begun relationships with at a bar or a brewery since I moved here? I don't know, but for all of you folks out there who are trying to grow your business, get something going, put some serious consideration into the bar strategy or the brewery strategy, right?
Absolutely. All the cool people hang out.
So Moving Target ATL, mission, purpose. Tell us a little bit about the business and what you're trying to create for folks, what you're trying to do for people.
Okay, absolutely. Moving Target ATL is an entertainment company that comes to you. So we are 100% mobile. We get that often. Where's your location? And Moving Target ATL is 100% on the road. So we are an axe throwing business, an axe throwing company, which brings a lot of camaraderie, a lot of stress relief, basically catharsis, whatever you want to call it. And it brings people together, and we do any type of event you can think of. We've probably already done it or already booked it. So we've been on the road since November the 1st, and I'm still in our first year of business, which is pretty exciting.
Wow. So it's early for you. So lessons learned so far. Anything surprised you in this last, 8-10 months?
A lot has surprised us.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get into the background of how we got to this point, but the biggest thing is that how many people, it's a good time also after the pandemic and COVID, but
right.
A lot of people just excited to get back together and be able to do something fun. And probably what surprised us the most is how many people were having to turn away. So that supply and demand thing is there's only so many days on a calendar month to be able to hold events. So that does limit you. Absolutely.
Well, I hadn't thought about that. What a great problem to have, right, Oscar?
It's a great problem to have, yes.
Sorry, we'll see you in 3 months.
I know.
Happy birthday then.
Right, right, exactly.
And a way to solve the problem or mitigate the problem or address the opportunity, however you want to frame it. So are you considering maybe having more units? Is that the right word?
We actually have some things to announce today.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So, all right. So before we steal all that thunder, yes, please. Backstory. How did we get here?
Because at 52 years old, I never thought I'd be throwing axes for a living. That's for sure. So, how we got here, my history and my background is over, I said 25 years on the website, but honestly, now that I look at it, it's probably more like 30 years, which has really aged me since I just told you my age too. But what I've always done in my past was executive management, mainly in retail. So some big brands.
That makes perfect sense. Executive.
Absolutely.
Translatable skills.
You know? Absolutely. Yes. So I did big box gyms. I did, a long time with limited brands, Godiva chocolates, pretty much you name it. And I either ran a district or a region and traveled a lot and raised 2 kids, 2 amazing children, and got to the point of about 4 years ago, a little over, being an empty nester and trying to figure out what's next for me. And in doing so, I got a great opportunity with a entertainment company that was locally housed here in Atlanta, but was nationwide. And one of the brands, I did multi-brands for them across the country, but one of the brands was a axe throwing business with, at that point, probably 23 locations across the country. Oh. And it was brick and mortar 100% and, had a great time with it. I mean, in all honesty, being able to go from selling clothing or anything else that of course people are happy to buy clothes, right. But when people are going to you for fun and entertainment, I mean, what better place to work than that, right? So, had a lot of fun with that and spent a lot of my time on the road traveling and just a different day every day, a different week every week, which was really fun. And then as probably most people at this point is, that whole thing, COVID happened.
Oh,
and it's like,
gracious.
wow.
Right?
One of our brands was escape rooms. So if you think about what an escape room is, you're touching everything and you're encouraging them to touch everything a lot of times. So, entertainment took a big hit with along with everything else, but, where you're in close proximity with a lot of people in closed circumstances. And, it really did change things. And being across the country, some states opened sooner than others and some didn't. And I was the sole man standing in the entire company other than the owners and the entrepreneur team. Mm-hmm. And with that said, that lasted a few more months. And then it was time to figure out what's going to happen after that. And I didn't really know. I mean, I was starting to look for jobs again and knowing I didn't want to go back into the corporate world, but knowing it's what I was good at, that's where I started looking. And
sure.
I was fortunate enough to have my business partner / husband, one night at dinner. We saw a drawing of something that was on a trailer and he said, you know what, we could put axe throwing and do it that way. And I thought he was a little bit crazy, which I know I still do.
No, I still think he's probably a little bit crazy.
He's a little bit crazy, but he did it. And I say, I'm not the risk taker and he is. And I'm thankful that he took the risk in me and said, you've run businesses before for other people, do it for yourself. And that's kind of what led us to what we're doing right now. So I knew the business model very well. I've been in it for over 4 years in the industry.
Well, that's nice.
So that's very helpful because you learn a lot of the what ifs and what could happen. But then I've never done a mobile business. So trying to figure that out. And I'm say we're still on the cusp of figuring that out because that comes with its own challenges for sure.
So is this the first and only time that you and he have run something together, a business together?
Absolutely. Yes, it is.
Probably learned a few things on that front too, right?
He works in the beginning, what I joked about is saying he has a real job. But now that this has gone so well, I said, now he has 2 real jobs and I have a real job too, because our initial, introduction to this was, you know what, let's just offset your salary. That's really all we were looking for. Nothing big, we're in our mid 50s and we were just ready to, do something, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And it's turned into a lot more than that. So now I have a real job too. And we've learned a lot about each other and we balance each other extremely well. And we've learned more than anything, we couldn't do it without the other. So that's a good partnership.
So did you find some division of labor, some, like you do this, I do that? And
100% division of labor.
Yeah. You just about have to, right?
Well, he is, for the people around my age, MacGyver. Everybody knows our age knows who MacGyver is. Right. He's always been that. That's what he's been called by a lot of people.
Okay. Then.
He can troubleshoot and figure out and solve anything.
Right.
Very handy. So he is the, overall the operations management, I would say.
Okay.
So he does everything from, he designed our unit. We had, a very clear and concise thing that we wanted to build. It had to be a certain quality and he designed it. He built it. He did everything but the welding and made sure it's going to run efficiently and take care of all of those. If this happens, what would we do? And we're still learning that as we go. But he's mainly our driver. So our unit is extremely large and very difficult to drive.
Can't just anybody hop in there and take it to
I would never even attempt to. So, that is definitely his role. So he is the driver and the setup, the takedown, the breakdown. And if anything goes wrong on site, he's going to be able to fix it without anybody on the customer side knowing about that.
Okay. This is a very tactical question, a very self-serving question, purely hypothetically. If my brother were coming to town around Christmas and renting a place nearby, but the driveway is sloped, is there some way to accommodate? I mean, sure, you guys run into that stuff all the time.
We
right?
do. We always do a site visit. And let me say,
and you figure out if you can do it.
99% of the time we do a site visit. And after this past week, it should be 100% of the time from now forward. But we do, we also can use Google Earth to be able to see what we're contemplating to be driving up to. But, there are some things we can have it. It has to be mainly level. Clearly,
okay, so
we've got balancing abilities.
All right.
But,
So in our case, maybe we used to be the Christmas house when we lived in Cobb County.
Mhm.
Now we've moved here, as most of our listeners know. We live right on the edge of town. We're still the Christmas house, but we live in a patio home now, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so, but we're still the Christmas house, at least for this year and probably next. So people are not going to not come. They're just renting places all over town. But maybe I can talk Tom and Lori into maybe having your unit here at the innovation spot, somewhere in one of these parking lots. Probably
very ironically, I just had somebody from the innovation spot reach out yesterday.
Okay, perfect. Okay, but that is one of the things that you guys have to think about. And here again, we're dealing with professionals. We're not dealing with Cletus. Yeah, we can do it. I'll bring 2 extra cinder blocks.
Right. No, we know before we get there if it can happen. And the really cool thing about what we do, the majority of our business now is going to be your corporate business. So everybody usually has a parking lot that's pretty level.
There you go.
So it's really great because we can just drive up during lunchtime. They cater a lunch. They provide something for their staff or some type of appreciation, client appreciation. And it's always easy. If they have a parking lot, we can pretty much make anything happen.
Okay. So how does the whole sales and marketing thing work for a company like yours? Like, do you advertise? Do you have to get out there and shake the bushes? Or is it the kind of thing where they see your trailer and now you're getting phone calls? Or
yeah, well, a little bit of both. We don't do any marketing, which is really kind of crazy.
Wow.
I think I've probably had to close some doors on some of the networking friendships about marketing because we can't support any more business right now as we are.
You hear this, Oscar?
It's a problem to have, right?
We're definitely going to engage you for the Christmas house and probably for something for Business RadioX. But I think I want to hire you as my marketing consultant. Don't you, Oscar?
I would say that would be a great problem to have to be able to tell folks.
Right.
No, thanks,
wow.
And it's very hard to say no to. So, I mean, I can make us burn that candle at both ends most days too. But what we drive is a huge billboard anywhere we go. So it's kind of fun. We do it in tandem. If we're going on a long distance, I follow my husband in my vehicle and I'm kind of that wide load car behind him.
Right.
But what's funny about it, I told him one time I called him and said, "You're about to be pulled over. This cop is hanging back with me. He doesn't realize we're together. You're about to be pulled over." And he's going, of course, through what have I done wrong? Like, what's going on? And then I look over at the cop and at the stoplight, he's taking pictures of it. So it's like people our target wall folds down. So going down the road, you're not really sure what this thing is that's going other than the signs that say moving target, mobile axe throwing. People can't really figure it out. So it's a little intriguing when you do see us parked somewhere or driving down the road. But on top of that, it is 100%, word of mouth and social media. Like what we do is beautiful on social media. We take a lot of photos, a lot of videos, and then people just having a great time. And that's a really great thing because we've seen well over 4,000 people that have played with us since we started. Oh my. And we haven't had one single person that didn't leave happy. So that's awesome. Beautiful. That doesn't happen. That didn't happen in brick and mortar. I can tell you that. So I'm doing it mobily. We're doing something right.
Okay, can't all be rainbows and unicorns. Surely you have some challenges you're trying to address in your business. Do you still have some challenges, or is the biggest challenge trying to meet the need?
Right now, that's our biggest challenge, but no, there's definitely challenges. I'd say one of them is we have what we have built is extremely quality unit. So like that's one thing that is. We knew if we were going to do it, we weren't going to try to get in as inexpensively as possible. We were going to do the investment and do it right. So we didn't have to tweak
and that was hubby's influence was a part of that. He really wanted good quality, right?
We both wanted the quality.
What's his name, by the way?
His name is Bill. I'll give him full
shout
credit.
out to Bill. Way to go, Bill.
Right.
But no, you both wanted quality coming in.
Yes. That was the one thing. We didn't want to have to do something and try to make it better down the road. We wanted to do it. If we were going to invest in it and take the risk, we were going to take the risk all the way. And the reason that even comes about, there were some other takeoffs of what we were doing out there across the country. And when we looked at it, we're like, wow, I don't know that I'd pay to have that drive up to my house with chicken wire or, chain link fence and some wood and hoping it's going to make it to your place.
There really is a guy out there named Cletus. out in Houston.
Unit. Yes,
he's doing this.
So when we started back in November, there were some out there, but we looked at it and we're like, oh, we can definitely do something better than that. But it's going to cost us to do so. And we needed to do that. So, with that said, again, I don't even know where this question started, but a challenge that we have is, in talking to our insurance agent, that writes our general liability this week, they said, every Tom, Dick, and Harry goes out and throws axes somewhere on a Friday night and says they're going to quit their job and put it on wheels, and we won't insure them. So that's one of our challenges in the mobile industry is making sure that I try to help people along the way that are trying to get into this business, because I want them to do it in the same quality or a similar quality, and not just try to get into it to think they can make money and learn the industry overnight. Because that does hurt the quality. If something pulls up to somebody's house and they think that's what mobile axe throwing is, and it's not to the level that we expect, then will they even ever know that we're out there, or will they expect more?
Right.
And that's one thing that the challenge of the industry, I think, in mobile is anybody trying to just put it up or try to figure out, hey, we'll come just build some really fast on your property. And that's not going to be something that's safe. And that's one of our 3 characteristics that we really believe in is safety first.
Right.
And then I guess other challenges would be today. We had an event at Emory University, and we're going to have to postpone it. Our unit is completely covered. You can play in the rain. We've got a 2-tiered roof, and it's very solid, but it's not as much fun for the participants and the spectators at our heckler bars to be able to enjoy the event as much. So we try to work with people, and I talked to them this morning, and they made the judgment that we're going to schedule it for another day. So Mother Nature is going to be sometimes a factor. So that's something that's a challenge.
So let's talk about recruiting, developing, retaining, good help. People on the team, even in my business, which is not high risk. The worst thing that's going to happen in here is people won't enjoy being on the show or listening to the show, which fortunately doesn't happen. But we have a good time in here and people seem to enjoy our programming. But I'm not worried about anybody getting hurt today. You have to have tremendous trust. You've got to work with, tell me about the people that you bring into your circle and trust with your brand.
Yeah. And that's the big thing. With my history overall, again, 25 to 30 years, branding is part of everything I've done. And I've only wanted to associate myself with certain quality brands. And with what we do, that's the first thing is we can teach anybody the skill, but they have to have the personality that's going to fit what we want to sell. And what we want to sell is fun, energetic, exciting, engaging, team building, just some good camaraderie all together. And with that, you need somebody with a coaching spirit, but somebody that's that's got that cheerleading background. They want to see somebody succeed. And my husband is the best expert that we have. So that's what we call them.
Expert?
They are experts.
Well, you really are good at this whole branding thing. Right.
Well, it's kind of become who we are. So we eat, sleep, and breathe axes now.
Wow.
So he's the lead expert. And where I think in the beginning, I can teach, I'm an excellent trainer and I can teach everything. But now after 9 months, he's been on the trailer coaching a lot more than I have. So he's become better than I am, which is a challenge for me. But he's also better at the coaching aspect. Right. So when we find somebody, we are looking for somebody on our team. Our experts are our personality and are kind of like the host or the personality on the trailer that's going to be, they're in charge of their safety, but they're also just making sure they have a great time at the same point. So if we find somebody out and about, we'll bring them on our team if they've got the right personality. We'll train everything else. They just have to be able to love what they do, love to play, can be a little snarky and be sarcastic in a fun way with our guests because that's part of what we do. We're very edgy. And then we teach them everything else. So right now we have on our unit, other than my husband and I, and again, him being the lead expert, we have 6 other experts that work with us. And that's a combination of when we started thinking about this, we went to our very favorite fine dining server that has the best personality we've ever known. And we said, this is what we're going to do. And we want you to be a part of it. And she said, I just learned how to throw axes last weekend. I want to do this. And she's phenomenal. And then she has a friend of hers that was also a fine dining server. So they work a full-time job and they work with us part-time.
And they know what service they already have that.
We already love them for their personality. And then one of my former managers of a escape room here in town, he was between jobs and going with the police or fire department, and he joined us. Phenomenal. Got us through the holiday season. Had a great time. And then right now we've got our 3 newest are college students, and they were all 3 working at a gym full time and going to school. And now they're just working with us and going to school. and they all have the personalities and the fun and the drive to do what we do. And they can do it in short spurts, 2 to 4 hours instead of working an 8-hour shift at a gym. So,
and how cool are they when they're hanging out with their buds? Like, what do you do? You know, I work here, I work there. Oh, I'm an expert.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just like immediately the coolest person in the crowd.
And how bad is the job when you're either hanging out at a brewery, a vineyard, or a party with cool people? I mean, it's a lot of fun, and you're playing games. So it's fun. And we are currently recruiting because we're going to need some more people as well.
So tell me about this Acts of Service campaign.
Acts of Service, yes. Yeah. That's our takeoff on fundraising. So
this lady could be a copywriter, a marketing consultant. Oscar, you need any copywriting? She'll come up with something with 3 brothers. This is incredible. All right, go ahead.
Right. Our Acts of Service is our fundraising campaign. And this is kind of the heart of where we are. We like to give back. We like to be involved. And we do so through what we call our Acts of Service. So instead of having a car wash or whatever it may be it a nonprofit 501c3. One of those, yeah. Or any other. We
were, Business RadioX, Cherokee Business RadioX was a nonprofit in February, but we've been making money since.
Okay. That's funny.
Yeah.
But then we could do for other organizations as well. And we have different options where we can set up at a discounted rate and then share the proceeds that come in.
Oh, wow.
And it's just a lot of fun because people tend to give back a lot more when they're having a good time.
Right.
So we've been lucky and fortunate to be able to work with some really great organizations around town.
Okay. So what, like if Business RadioX, let's talk through some of these applications of your service. So if Business RadioX, the network, or just Cherokee Business. We have 5 Business RadioX studios here in Metro Atlanta, but if it was all of us, or maybe it was just Cherokee Business Radio X, if we had you come out to the parking lot, but what if we could somehow, is there some way we could use it, raise the money, and then give it to somebody?
One that we did recently in Cherokee County was with Goshen Valley. So that was up at Canton. So we positioned ourselves at Canton Reformation at Canton, and Thrivent actually was the sponsor. So they purchased us out, and then the organization actually sold tickets, and they sold tickets, and they made a really nice little donation to the cause. I think it was like $3,700.
Oh, nice.
For people to come out and throw axes. So it was a lot of fun.
So the sponsoring organization or whoever, Business RadioX or what, could pay your fee.
Right.
So now you're whole, and then we could set up to buy tickets for the business community, could buy tickets, and we could give that money to whomever.
Absolutely. So what they did I think they did like $25 for they'd have an axe throwing training session, a mini game, and then they had a swag bag of a lot of giveaways from either Goshen Valley, Thrivent, Reformation, a drink ticket, or we partner sometimes with food trucks, and they'll do a food truck ticket as well. And then just come out and have a great time.
Oh man, my mind is spent. I'm envisioning like the food truck, right? And the axe throwing. That sounds like so much fun. So you've already accomplished so much, and you got so much going, but I don't know what's next. Do you think in the coming months for you?
We've got a lot of things that are next. So I'm happy and excited to share today that we're actually launching our second unit on October the 1st. So we're going to be having a North Side Georgia and a South Side Georgia location.
Okay.
And that's going to be really great to be able to do a business partnership with some young guys down in the South Side area. And we've also started working with a franchising mentor and coach. And they're helping us get ready for Q1 and Q2 of 2022 to be able to start franchising out.
Oh my goodness.
So we're learning a lot, and we're on the very early cusp of that.
So when you get ready to do a franchise, it's my understanding that one of the key sets of activities is just bottling everything you do, right? Like standard operating procedures. Right. That would be a larger jump for the people who run the Business RadioX network. I know that because I'm one of them. But I get the sense that you've already got a lot of your stuff bottled, standardized. So you're probably further along than the typical pre-franchisor.
I did it all for my prior company.
Oh, so you've been there, done that. You know what you're doing.
Again, I have 4 years of experience in this industry, so I already have all of the operations manuals, the training manuals, all of that done for brick and mortar. So all I had to do was change it and kind of tweak it for our mobile unit. So that part's done.
Wow. So, I mean, if they outlawed axe throwing, you could be like a franchise consultant, a marketing consultant, a copywriter. You're amazing.
I don't know about that, but we'll stick with what we do best right now.
No, I mean, that's incredible, though. What a great head start to have that experience.
It's nice.
already.
Yeah. Well, it really helps because I tell you what, I've really enjoyed, there's a couple of Facebook groups and I've really enjoyed getting to know people. I work with somebody that had started one a few months ago in San Diego and somebody in Florida, and being able to just, if it took me 4 or 5 months to figure out something about insurance that I wanted to do differently and be able to save them that time and be able to partner with other brands out there that are trying to get going. I love that part.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun.
Well, how can we help the Business RadioX community, the Woodstock business community, which incidentally, wow, I haven't lived here that long. Don't you just love the business landscape in this
Absolutely.
Woodstock community? I mean,
it's just fantastic. So we're actually right here off of Arnold Mills where we house our unit here.
Oh, really?
And yes. So, but it's just Cherokee County is our home. So we're really, we want to be as involved here as we can.
And when people say, how can I help? They mean it.
Right.
And I do too. But what can we do to help? Just continue to get the word out about what you're
Absolutely.
What you're doing?
I think that's the great thing is, although it's axe throwing is actually an ESPN sport. I don't know if you knew that or not. It's it's a worldwide sport. So there's world championships once a year and it's on ESPN.
How cool is that?
And that's the cool part. What just happened is that although to me, it's old news. I've been doing this for 4 years,
Right.
but, and I'm like, how could you not know about this? But that's just the truth. A lot of people just don't know that sport's out there. And then they go like, you're going to do what? You're going to hand us a weapon and then you're going to let us throw it. But, we have 3 really key areas of our business. And one of them is quality and professionalism, because obviously what we do is very relaxed and very comfortable. But on top of that, we want to know from the very first time you even look at our website, we're different. Like, we've got knowledge behind us. It wasn't somebody that we paid to do that. I did all of the content of our website, and that's important to me. And all the way through from the time we don't let anybody book us online because I want to have that personal connection with them. So they know me before they even book our location or book us to come to their location. So that's very important. And we want that quality to be all the way through the follow up afterwards. Even if I haven't been able to service someone, which there was one time a lady that I wasn't able to service because we were already booked, but I got her in touch with somebody that had a version of what we do. And she was happy, but she was devastated that she couldn't get us. And following up with her afterwards,
back, right?
Well, afterwards, I just said, did it go well? Did you have a good time? She said, we did. But I can't believe you're calling me when you did not even work with us. And I said, yeah, I wanted to make sure it went well. And those mean a lot. So that's one of our characteristics that are very important, kind of our 3-tiered focus. And then on top of that, it would be the customer experience, start to finish, and then safety. We've got our general liability is not one that everybody that does mobile axe throwing can get, because that came along with a resume of having some time behind us in the industry. And we make sure that the safety is of utmost importance. We never wanted it to be how many people can we service? We wanted to service them the best quality and the safest way possible. So our first thought when we were going to build this is, how do we add additional units off the side? More targets, more people. But when you do that, we found that you also lose a lot of control. So control of the axes, control of other people's actions, which is you're never able to control. Right. So we determined we wanted to make it the safest unit possible with the best coverage possible, and take the risk away from any location or landowner that we're going to position this at. And by doing that, we run a very efficient ship. So we can service quite a few people. I think at Goshen Valley, it was like 108 playthroughs in one event. So we can do it very well and very, we can make people tired throwing axes, but we didn't have to do it by saying, hey, you know what? Now we're going to add some more off the side, and we're going to, because when you let an axe be able to walk off your unit and go to another self-built or land throw lane, then what happens is you've lost that control. So we didn't want to take that chance, and we wanted everybody to know that they were safe. You always have an expert right between you. You never have somebody that's left alone to throw an axe. So safety is very important to us.
Well, I was going to ask her for how are you guys different? And then you just gave me 10 minutes of how you're different.
That's how we're different.
You really, really are. You are different. Wow. What a delight it has been to have you come in and talk about your work. our listeners can't see this, but they certainly will when they get a chance to meet you personally. The glint in your eye when you talk about serving people.
Thank you.
And you just,
it's
we always contagious, isn't it, Oscar?
I want to give people
smile over here the whole
right.
time.
I mean, I want to give people an experience that they're not even expecting when they pay for us. And that's what I would want to pay for. So I always say, if I wouldn't buy it, or if I wouldn't pay for it, or I wouldn't be happy to invite my guests to it, then we don't want to provide that.
Oh, my gracious. All right. So those who are listening who would like to reach out and have a conversation with you or someone on your team, points of contact, best way to reach out, whatever you're comfortable with and feel like is appropriate from a website, a number, LinkedIn, whatever.
Okay. So our website is www.movingtargetatl.com. Our contact number is 770-756-2937, which also spells Axes, AXES.
I mean, have you not thought of anything?
Well, I'll tell you, my husband worked hard to get that phone number. I can tell you that part. He gets full credit for that. And then our email address is info@movingtargetatl.com. And if you go to our website, it has everything you need, FAQs, all the way down to an easy quote, a lot of photos and a lot of videos. And then if you'll check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Moving Target ATL, you'll see the fun that we provide and then some.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And let's have you come back in maybe when you launch that second unit, if you'd like.
Sure.
And make that announcement, or just anytime you've got something really cool going on, or maybe as you continue to as you continue to partner with some of these nonprofits.
Absolutely.
And we've got something where you want to get a little extra notoriety around an effort to raise some money for a good cause. The platform's at your disposal. Come on in and we'll have you talk about what's coming if you're up to that.
We'd love to. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Hey, listen, how about hanging out with us while we visit with our next guest?
Absolutely. We'd love to.
Well, I am so sorry that you have to follow that act. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even know. This has been a huge mistake.
Oh my goodness.
Before the show, you said she's going to set the tone. I didn't know she was going to raise the bar that much.
Oh, you're too kind.
Like, oh my goodness. All right. Well,
all right.
Time to bring it down.
Next up on Cherokee Business Radio, please join me in welcoming to the show with Three Brothers Painting, Mr. Oscar Velez. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Stone. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. You learn anything in that last segment?
More than I'm able to process right now, actually.
Oh my God. Well, you know that Kara and team are going to make it fun. But let's talk about Three Brothers
Sure. What do you want to know?
I want to know, I don't know if it's appropriate for an on-air conversation. At some point, I'd like to know how in the world you were able to find Ashley Velez.
That is a story that is not going to be told on air.
Oh my gracious, Ashley! I just think the world of Ashley. But no, let's talk about Three Brothers Painting. What you and your team are out there trying to do for folks. Mission, purpose. Tell us a little bit about the company and how you're trying to serve, man.
So, Three Brothers Painting started in 1991. It was my dad and two of my uncles. Now I'm 38 years old and I do our sales. I'm our lead sales, person. And I often get the question, which brother are you when people don't know our history, right? And my go-to joke is always, I was 8 years old when the company started. So unfortunately I didn't make it into the name, and we're too long established now to change it to Three Brothers and Son. But no, we have been doing this for about 30 something years. Or actually just at 30 years. My pops, we came to this country and he was working for another paint outfit here in the Atlanta area. And he was just the day-to-day manager, if you will, of his paint team, while he had somebody above him that owned the business. And they were doing new construction strictly at the time. When that person's contract came up for renewal, the gentleman that was working day to day with my dad said, I want to keep working with you, but with you, and what's the name of your business? And my dad looked to my uncle and was like, I guess it's Three Brothers Painting, and started from there. So we used to do a lot of new construction work for John Wheeland back in the day, back in the early 90s, even going to like mid 2000s. thankfully, right before the crash in 2008, we had already started kind of weaning ourselves out of, being in the new construction phase and mainly focusing on residentials because you can bring such a much higher level of quality and service to a residential property than you can that new construction.
I hadn't thought about that. Would not have occurred to me. I don't know, Kara, would that have?
It's higher level of materials, higher quality rather. Okay. And you have a much more personal relationship with that actual individual client than you do, just a homeowner that you're doing touch-ups from a house that you painted, from the ground up and you never even met them. You just show up, the X and Y over at whatever construction sent me over to take care of this, right? And you're just a face doing work. But when you're on the residential side, you start building that relationship with that client and, then sometimes it's been generational. I've been doing this for a sales side for about 16 years, even though I grew up in the business and used to do, some of the paint more like getting in the way. Let's be real. but learning the trade from the ground up. And some of these folks have seen me, grow up from when I was a teenager. Now I've got my own kids and their kids are hiring me now to come out and do work. And they're like, oh yeah, I used to paint my bedroom and now like I've got my kids, so it's just super cool being able to see, families grow, families, tell us about their friends that need something else done. And then much like you were saying, Kara, earlier, we also don't advertise except for the sense that, our vans are wrapped. My personal vehicle is actually not even wrapped. I live in an HOA neighborhood that doesn't allow it. And I have a personal car I keep in the garage. But we're just like you guys, you just word of mouth in the SEO. My wonderful wife that you mentioned earlier, that's her. Yeah. That's what she does. She is fantastic at all of the SEO and content and everything. And she has helped us in the past with that. And folks will ask me, much like you were saying earlier about those, business relationships that want to get you to advertise in their magazines or billboards or what have you. And it's like, I don't want to spend $2,000 on something a month that I know like we're already getting because like the work speaks for itself. Yeah. Those review sites. And for anybody listening, if you ever hire any sort of trade and you're happy with them, please take the time to write those reviews.
Amen.
Because folks really, really take stock at those. I have an initial meeting with somebody that, they don't know me from Adam. And one of the first things that they might say is, our Facebook neighborhood group recommended you. And then I looked you guys up and you guys have fantastic reviews. I'm like, oh, thank you. I don't look at them. I don't want to get in my own head, one way or the other. But I'm told that they're pretty good, 5 stars and which is awesome, yes. But my very trying to be humble thing is always, we try really hard, just to make sure that everybody is as happy as you can make them. We obviously are not going to be able to please everybody. We're all human and we work better with some folks and great with a couple others, but that's going to happen when you're 30 years in, and sure. I think, again, the reviews and the fact that we really only have that SEO and really the word of mouth says a lot.
So, but your business strikes me as an incredibly competitive arena.
It absolutely is.
If I had not gotten connected to you through in Woodstock and having met Ashley and that kind of thing, and I needed painting services, I don't even know where I would start. I guess now that I'm in this business community, I would have probably asked Kara or whoever I saw Thursday at the thing, right? So I would ask someone. I'd like to think I would no longer go to the air quote yellow pages. Right. But at any rate, your business strikes me as incredibly competitive. So, so you do have to be very diligent about being different or doing a great job for the work you do get.
So that is a fantastic question and follow up to what I just said in the sense that, we don't have that print media and whatnot, but following back into, relationships.
Right.
We, much like Kara, I like to go to those networking things. Woodstock is chock full of business owners, and I count myself very fortunate as having, a lot of them be our friends, because we have met through, these small groups that have grown into big groups. Years ago, my wife and I started going to YPOW, which is Young Professionals of Woodstock. Even though not a spring chicken anymore.
Well, I've been going to that meeting too.
I've been going there too.
It's fantastic.
I think we're violating the why.
I think you're the young.
It's young at heart.
Right.
Professionals of Woodstock, and just building those relationships. And I specifically like that one because I was part of another networking thing years and years ago that was a very referrals driven. Like you have to bring stuff every week, and if you don't, you're penalized, and you have to pay for it and whatnot. And it's just very nerve wracking. Like, oh, I didn't meet anybody that needs pest control this week or what have you, right? But with young professionals or a lot of the other things that we're doing, it's more about the relationships of people that are going to be able to tell people about you. Because yes, Stone, you've heard about us because you've been to the same groups that I frequent.
Right.
And so, you need something, then you go to your people, right? You go to the people that know the people that do the things.
Well, and I like to be the guy that knows the guy.
Right. I think we all do in this room.
Right.
I think there's a reason we're all in this room.
So it's good for me to know, even if I don't have any painting needs or don't perceive any painting needs for another year, 2 years. I mean, nothing would thrill me more than for someone to shoot me a text today or an email. Stone, we're going to paint the inside of the house. Who do you know? And I love being able to, send you a note and be that. And I think a lot of people in this community do. So talk to us a little bit about the dynamics of a family-owned business, because there's got to be some tremendous pluses to that, some tremendous advantages. And I wonder if there aren't some unique challenges too, though.
Oh, of course.
Gotta be careful here.
Yeah, absolutely, Kara. Like you said, you're working with your husband as your business
We
partner.
are broadcasting live and recording, so keep it between the ditches, Oscar.
Working with family it's definitely a double-edged sword. It's nothing that I don't have to tell anybody here, in the sense that if there is some sort of emergency or whatever, of course everybody's extra understanding. If a kid is sick and I have to move a couple of appointments or whatever, it's not even a question of, well, you got to make up your hours or whatever, right? Because we're family. At the same time, I don't want to be having Sunday dinner. We have a standing Sunday dinner. I live 6 doors from my parents, and my brother lives a 3-minute drive, in the same neighborhood. I've been in Deer Run for 21 years, and that was by design. In fact, when my wife moved into my, like I said, third home there, moved into my second place. She was like, is this going to be an Everybody Loves Raymond situation where like they're just going to be over like all the time? And then a couple of years, she was like, we need to move closer. I was like, are you serious?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no. So we did. Yeah, no, we're just around the corner. All that to say, we have that standing Sunday dinner.
Oh, that's neat.
We make it a point not really to discuss business.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Do you? And if not,
no,
how do
we don't discuss business, during family time, because I like to keep that separate. There's so much, for the first, I'm about to be, hitting 13 years of marriage, and, the first 11, 12 years, I work steady 6 days a week, Saturdays are usually not usually, they are a half day for me because I have kids and I want to be home for them. But, I've just really made it a point that if I'm home, I'm home, because I've put so much time into it over the last couple of years that I need to focus on this chapter of my life, because everything that I can do, I can get done during my work day. And there's, of course, going to be those after hours, client calling me, hey, we're still on for tomorrow, and it might be 6:30 or 7, or they have a question and they just got off work, so they're calling me. Of course, I'll answer the phone, and my guys might be running a project a little bit late and they need to purchase materials. I get calls early and late in the evening, just asking me to run the credit card for them, because we control that at the office to make sure that spending is, where we need it to be, and keep track of all of our materials, costs and whatnot. But I used to tell people, if I'm awake, I'm at work. I used to tell folks I keep real estate hours. And then at a certain point, that burnout happens. And it's like, what? We are in an age where we really have to figure out our work-life balance. Right. And that's actually something that I really learned from my wife is, we can't be defined by our work. We also are human beings that, require that social aspect. And for me, these groups like, young professionals. And I'm actually going to go to the Canton Business Club tomorrow, which I've never been to.
That's great.
Those for me are the social and business aspect. It's a good blend of the two to be able to grow your business in an organic manner. Because you spend $3,000 on flyers and they hit 4,000 houses or whatever. How many of those are actually going to call?
Right.
You just don't know. But if you keep continuing to build these relationships, really just going to hang out and meet like-minded people. And then, like you said, maybe 3 months later, somebody calls you and says, "Hey, Stone, who do you know? Kara, have you met anybody in these groups that you go to or whatever?" Because we're there to be a resource, right?
Absolutely.
So that's my approach to where I am now in the business.
Well, for what it's worth, that's sort of the evolution for me. We, Holly and I, we sold our home in Cobb. We downsized, moved here on the edge of town. Historically, I've not been very active in like this networking kind of thing. I'm a little bit spoiled in that when you have your own radio show, if you want to meet someone, you just invite them to come on the show. And so for years, 15 plus years of doing it, people would come to me if I wanted. But here's what I'm finding. I'm finding that I'm getting to meet more people faster. And then I'm meeting them outside of the studio and just getting a chance to really build a really deep relationship with people. In my book of those folks that I know that I've started to really like and trust, like I feel very confident putting people in touch with each other. I've always been that way, like within the industry, like if it had to do with marketing or media. Sometimes I was even a little, almost like a quarterback of the team, right? Like, do you find yourself in that position sometimes because of your world? Like, or will someone, because they're working with you, particularly ask you about, I don't know, roofing, like house related stuff? Of
course.
Like I would ask Kara, like if I needed to get a roof, I would ask Kara because I know her, I like her, I trust her. But I'm thinking now I would really ask Oscar.
Yeah.
Right? Like I would ask Oscar first.
People ask me all the time first off, they ask, what else do you do?
Right.
Because a lot of these guys will go out there and they're a painting company, but they also might start doing remodels or decks or something like that. And for me, I grew up in this business. I know a lot about paint. If you had told, 16-year-old me I'd be excited about researching a new coating, I'd have been like, you were insane. But, for me, it's interesting. And I know, enough about it to, convince people that I'm knowledgeable in it. Right. But, I know what I'm good at and it's our niche, so I always tell people, what do we do aside from painting? Well, we stain. We do
that's funny.
And we do minor repairs, paint and paint adjacent. If you've got wood rod, absolutely we can come in and replace, rotted brick bolts, nose sills, pieces of soffit, fascia, reside your chimney or whatever. Are we going to reside your house? No, that's a different,
But you probably know who you would consider best in class.
For sure. And that's, from years of building up these relationships with other GCs that hire out, subs for these types of projects. That's really about the only type of new construction, quote unquote, that we might do is if somebody's finishing out their basement and we have to come in and of course do that initial coating, or if somebody's adding an addition to their home, they got to paint the inside and outside of it. It's not all coming pre-finished, So of course, we're happy to have those relationships and then be able to pass on that name. Hey, can you build me a portico? No, but I know who can. Stuff like that, because we have a very specific place where I want to be. We have 10 crews running, have for a very long time. A crew that's been with us the least amount of time is going on, I think 5 years, actually closer to 6. And we retain our people by treating them well,
We'll talk about that a little bit. In our system, it's a little more loosely constructed. Most of the people in the Business RadioX system are entrepreneurs of their own, and they may run a studio in North Fulton or in Phoenix or Tucson. So they're not really reporting to me when I have my corporate hat on. But I am in awe or even intimidated by the idea of someone actually reporting to me and them and me not doing a very good job of leading them or even recruiting the right people.
No, for sure. Well, in the recruiting sense, to be quite frank, I just don't have a lot of experience with that because we just don't really have to, you know,
because you retain.
We're super full. You know, we will have people call me all the time and say, hey, you know, Sherwin-Williams or PPG or what have you told me to give you a call. Are you guys hiring painters? You know, they might have their full crew ready to go. And it's, you know, I always feel terrible saying, I'm sorry, we're full up, you know.
Right.
But the times that we have added people, it's actually, you know, my father's still a little bit involved with the business. He's still the principal owner, but he runs a handful of other businesses as well. So I do, along with my sister, we do the day-to-day managing and running. You know, I do sales and then project management, making sure that I'm on top of, you know, the project so that they're getting done the way that I said they were going to be done. Right. So, I got guys calling me all day saying, hey, we can't find this particular product. What's going to be the closest equivalent? So I have to find it and source it and you know, stuff like that. And aside from sales, that eats up a lot of my day. It's just making sure that, you know, the guys have what they need right now. We are having a lot of supply chain issues with just paint not being able to find it. Yeah, no, there's a lot of products that just aren't available right now. So, and I've told my guys, hey, instead of you driving to 4 Sherwin-Williams stores, which is a waste of time, you know, call me. I will call our rep and, you know, find out where it is, have it pre-tinted for you. So by the time you get there, you know, it's ready to pick up and go, you know, so that's been, you know, one of our challenges lately is just making sure that we got materials. I mean, yesterday, not that we would have been able to start it anyways because of the rain, but, you know, had a client text me his colors ahead of time early last week. And I said, great, you know, we've got some time to start looking around for it. It's 2 very specific coatings that just have not been available for months. One of them specifically, it's H&C Cool Feel. It's a pool patio paint that makes the surface of the pool deck feel about 20 degrees lower than if it was just regular paint. It's awesome. My dad has it on his place, and you can walk on that and then walk on the Trex right next to it. And it's like night and day difference, like frying an egg versus, I'm comfortable, you know. However, the manufacturer is not making it right now because they don't have the raw materials for it with everything that's going on.
I know everything affects everything else.
Of course.
What do you call it? Supply chain. Like all the way to,
it definitely hit us a little bit later than some of the other industries. You know, of course, we all heard about lumber and how scarce and how expensive it was. Yeah, I know, right?
Boy, is it.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I've got guys calling me all the time. Hey, you know, we can't find, you know, super paint. They only have emerald, which is like twice the cost. I'm okay, let me make a call. See if Sherwin-Williams can do a substitution, because instead of paying, you know, $55 for a gallon, when we should have been paying $30 something for this other product, you know, they can match the price because they're just out of stock, you know. So if these, you know, guys are just going out and just paying for it, then that's money loss, it's profit loss, you know. So it's a whole lot of juggling, you know, to make sure that these guys are getting what they need. And that ultimately the client is getting what they need, because I always tell the clients or my guys, you know, if you can't find a specific product, get the next one up. You know, we can't go down. Right. Always go up.
So that's one of those core operational disciplines that you probably have dozens. But
for sure.
That's just one of those things. You go up, you don't go down.
Yeah. And in this particular instance with this project, we couldn't start yesterday. I had to tell the client, you know, we don't want to use these other coatings because they're not as good. So there's none in Georgia. We just can't do it. We'll see you when we see you, you know.
But I know Oscar's going to tell me the truth. Yeah. Tell me if we, right. Again, because of the relationship and because of the reputation.
Yeah.
So, where are you going to take this thing? Like, is this puppy going to be like, are you going to be running the whole thing at some point?
Yeah, that's probably within the next year and a half. My pops wants to.
You already were. So this is going to be your baby.
It absolutely is. I feel, you know, I've been working. I think I started doing, you know, the sales side of it when I was 20 years old, maybe 21. And I'm 38 now. You know, oh my God, it's been longer than 16 years.
You're getting old, Oscar.
That math didn't work.
Yeah, no, that math does not add up. I still think I'm 36, 37. You know? there a mirror in here I can look at real quick? You know?
But that's got to feel intimidating. Might not be the right word, but that's a daunting.
Yes.
That's I mean, you're filling some big shoes. I mean,
absolutely.
This is not the first time that I've heard stories, very marvelous stories about your father. So
yeah. No, his reputation certainly precedes him. If you know certain people here in Woodstock, he certainly has his fingers in a lot of pies. Does a lot of rental properties that he owns and rents out. He started building last year. Building custom homes because of course he did. He didn't have
anything else to do, right?
You're doing too good of a job.
Absolutely right. So no, I definitely have some big shoes to fill, but I feel that I'm up to the challenge. I absolutely, if I don't tank us, I think I did all right. Well, no, and in all honesty, my sister Cindy, who is our office manager and does a great job. And I essentially have been running the business for the last couple of years. My boss still, he runs it, kind of just keeps track of where the money's going and whatnot. But for day-to-day operations and making sure, clients are happy, crews are happy, and jobs are getting done on time, on schedule. I mean, that's all been us. So intimidated. Sure, it's a word I like to throw out there, but am I actually scared of it? No, it's going to be awesome.
Well, no, you're the kind of guy that will embrace that. Now, I heard through the grapevine, that you really enjoy music. Are you a musician? Tell us a little bit about.
Yeah. So, I actually, it's funny how I started working in Three Brothers because when I was 13 years old, I started wanting to play guitar. And I told my dad, I was like, hey, I want to get this. I had like a cheap little Lotus. It's a Fender Stratocaster copy. And the action was so terrible that the strings were about an inch off of the fretboard. And, so I told my dad, I was like, hey, I want to get this Ibanez. It's about $500 or whatever. And he goes, okay, well, earn half of it, And so he sent me out in the summer
for Dad.
To earn money. And that's why I was joking about essentially getting in the way. This was when they were still doing a lot of new construction. So I would go out to these job sites. And if you've ever had to putty nail holes on trim from new construction, there's thousands of them in every room. And that was my job, going out there and
how bad
puttying all these,
right?
not very much, and then caulking. And I literally started from the ground up, sweeping the job sites, caulking, puttying, doing all the grunt work, cleaning brushes, all of that. And yeah, I started playing guitar, jumped on bass, and then started playing in bands with my friends. I love punk rock music. If it's fast and melodic and loud, I absolutely love it. I still go to my punk rock shows with my late 30s friends dressing like we're 18. Like, yeah, who needs sleeves? But yeah, no, I've been doing it on and off. And I always joke, as far as my skill level goes, I'm very fortunate that I love punk rock because it's right in my wheelhouse. What I can play. So yeah, no, I've got a handful of records out on Spotify from over the years and, some projects that are going on and off. But
and will you play venues with your buds sometimes?
Yeah. I used to tour all the time back in 2003, 2004. I was on the road all the time. We were, this one band that I joined, they had lost their bass player, and my buddy Joe called me one time while I was hanging with my other bandmates from my main band at the time and goes, hey, you want to play bass for us? I was like, sure. Aren't you about to go on tour? Like, yeah. All right. So I learned about, 12, 15 of their songs and hit the road. We were gone for 2 weeks, hits, Florida and then going up the East Coast, ended in New York and then came back. And then that essentially was my next, 2.5 years is going out of town almost every weekend, playing neighboring states. We drive to Myrtle Beach and back. The longest we ever drove for one show, we would, we did it multiple times. We used to play this, it was called the Temple, but it was actually the basement of a Jewish temple up in Brooklyn. And they used to rent it out as just a venue.
Neat.
And we would leave on, Saturday morning, drive through the day. Actually, no, we would leave Friday, drive overnight, get there, play the show, and then leave, Wow. So we did that for Miami a handful of times too. So it wasn't out of the question. I wasn't living at home anymore. I'd had my apartment for a little bit. This was when I was 19, mind you, going out of town. And I would call my mom and be like, hey mom, no, I'm not going to be there this weekend. I'm going to Miami. Or like, oh, sorry, we got a show in Birmingham. So, there was a spell there. I missed out on a lot of family stuff. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's so important for me to have that standing Sunday dinner now, because I missed so much when I was, in my late teens, but you're kind of supposed to,
You're making up for it.
Exactly. No, we had a ton of fun. And, the music world is a very small community. And we actually, because at that point there wasn't really a lot of places for small local bands to play, like teenage kids, making their own bands in their garages also need a place to play. They can't sell out, 100 tickets to the Masquerade, So my friends and I, we opened a venue in Powder Springs, and then moved from that one to Bells Ferry and Barrett Parkway, and that was there for about 15, 16 years. So we would practice my band would practice there. We just kept all of our equipment there, but that was like my hangout spot. I'd be at shows, local shows and touring bands coming through, 5-6 nights a week for a couple of years. So, it was awesome. I made some incredible friends, from all over the country from being on the road. Yeah. Still keep in touch with a couple of them.
I am so glad I asked.
Yeah.
There's a lot of layers here.
Should I have asked you what instrument you play, Kara?
You should not have. Okay. I can make something up.
So before we wrap, walk us through kind of the Three Brothers customer experience, if you will.
Yeah.
Someone does need some painting. They've been, Kara's put them in touch with you.
Sure. Yeah. What they're going to do is they're going to call in the office and speak to, it's usually my sister Cindy that's going to take their info, or our other girl at the office, Mariela, who can, take all your info. We just need your address, phone number, first, last name, and an email address, so we can actually email the quote. We don't do written estimates like with paper anymore. We've gone the green route and just kind of shoot everything via email for about the last 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
It's usually only a couple of days turnaround, because one of my uncles, one of the original brothers, also helps with sales. It used to be when I was the only one doing our sales calls, I would be a week and a half out before even being able to do an estimate for somebody. And a lot of, that talk about a pain point, that's just not something that people are really willing to wait, not even to do the job, but to do the estimate then get the job. So we decided to transition him as, crew leader / estimator. So there's certain days of the week where he helps kind of pick up where I'm not able to get to these quotes. But, within the next couple of days, I'm going to go out there and meet the person, on site and talk to them about what their needs are. I actually, some of my clients, in fact, I had one yesterday comment on, I used to do my quotes on a giant laptop with an air card sticking out of it because it folded over to a tablet, and we have a server set up where, as I'm putting stuff up, in our system, like on my device, it's updating live at our office.
Oh, that's nice.
So thankfully we were able to get a mobile app version of our database, which, they just released for free as long as you have the license, which we do. And for a long time I was doing quotes on my iPad. Now, as iPhones have gotten bigger and bigger, I carry around a 12 Pro Max because of the larger screen size. So, it's funny when this client I hadn't seen in a while, I pulled up and walked in and he goes, "Oh, what happened to the laptop or the tablet? You're doing it on your phone now?" It's like the same size.
Right.
So it's just that much easier to do. So, I ask them, what are you exactly needing? And I'll tell you what you don't need. A lot of times folks will think, "Oh, I need to do walls, trim, and ceiling because you're going to be here." And I'm like, "Well, what's wrong with your ceilings? Are you changing color? Are you going to be painting them to the shade of the wall or whatever?" No. And I'm like, then why are we looking to do them? They look fantastic. Unless you've got a bunch of nail pops, water stains, a bunch of cracks happening, then let's take a look at them because we itemize everything. I give my clients, for interior specifically, it's very, very broken down. I always joke and I say, I shoot you a menu and then you pick from there, because instead of sending out a bid for show, the an estate home that might have $35,000, $40,000 worth of paint, I break it down by room, walls, trim, ceiling, closet, and then they're able to kind of pick and choose what they want to do from there. Because we all have budgets,
Right, absolutely.
I don't like getting a bid that says, hey, it's $5,000 to do this project. I'm like, cool, I have $3,800. Like, let's break this down,
Right.
So we give folks that flexibility. Whether exteriors is a little bit tougher to break it up because it's like, okay, my front side of my house, the right side of my house, my rent. I'm like, well, we already have all the equipment out. And it's like,
Right.
by the time you're done doing this, you've paid like twice what you should have. But interiors, there's a lot more flexibility, with being able to break things out. So, we meet the client, usually try to have the quote over to them within, a couple of days, just because things take time to put together sometimes.
Sure.
And usually we'll be able to get them on schedule within 3 weeks or so. At the height of our, busiest time, I will usually say, give us a month's notice just to be on the safe side. But that's very common for really any of the trades. I mean, I've got a gutter guy that I recommend all the time. And, I've had calls from clients saying, hey, do you know anybody else? He's 3 months out. Oh, well, good for him.
Exactly.
Yes, I've also got this other guy, but he's the one I mainly work with. But good, yeah, awesome. Great problem to have.
Well, and the important thing I think for most people, and certainly for me, is just tell me the truth.
Yeah.
And then whatever you tell me, do that. If you look, we'll show up next Thursday.
Yeah.
A little, around 2:00, then show up next Thursday around 2:00, not next Friday.
And that's absolutely something that I pride myself on for sure. Latino folks are very, very famous for not running on time. We have, family parties where we're like, hey, if they said start at, be there at 4.
So there's a little something to that,
show up at 7. Oh, 100%.
So I think my daughter's Latino then.
It is a 1,000%, running joke in my family that if there's any sort of family party, show up at least 2 hours after the start date. And there are many examples of where I have been frustrated because I want to be there on time. And then like I'm there as a caterer is showing up, or what have you. So I take that very much to heart. And if we have an appointment at 11, then I'm going to be there at like 11:01, or as close to 11 as possible. I set myself timers on my phone all the time. Like, okay, I've got 8 minutes of catch up on something before I got to start driving again to get to this appointment and give myself an extra 5 minutes, for traffic buildup or whatever, because it really does make a great impression. I can't tell you how many times a day folks will tell me thanks for showing up on time, because unfortunately contractors have a very, very, and a lot of times well-deserved reputation for not showing up on time.
Right.
Or answering a call.
I get
that all the time. Like, thank you for calling back.
I've actually had that as well.
We need you.
What I've had is folks tell me, thank you for answering a number you don't recognize. And much like you, it's like, for us, a call is money.
Exactly,
Sorry,
or
clients.
spam, but we'll figure that out quickly.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I have, unfortunately, in the last couple of months, if somebody's got an out of town, or out of state, I sometimes do have to screen those unless I recognize it right away, because I get like 15 to 18 spam calls a day because I'm known as answering my phone, so I don't know if that tells them
you're in a database
somewhere.
They track, hey, this idiot actually answers. Let's add him to all these other lists, so.
But it's a good point that's surfacing. And both of you obviously really take this customer experience thing very seriously. And it's not like you have to do, I think the lesson for us listening in is you don't have to do heroic things. They don't have to be way crazy over the top things. Just good, solid human being servicey things.
Just use integrity in your business, and it goes a long way.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. All right. Where can our listeners get in touch with you? What's the best way for them to reach out and learn more?
Best way is going to be threebrotherspainting.com. That's going to take you straight to our website. You can learn a little bit more about our history. We have the About Us page. I think we still have a couple of videos up. They were shot about 12 years ago, I think. So I look much different then, probably about 30 pounds ago, if we're being real. we have I'm narrating our history essentially. They're only about 2.5 minutes each video, but one of them walks you through the entire interior painting process. Another one's going to walk you through the entire exterior painting process. And we shot, a handful of the scenes like on site, like showing the guys actually doing the work. But then we've also done a little bit more of an updated one. This one's actually in HD, so I apologize for that again. That one's a little bit more updated. And again, just kind of tells you where we've been, a little bit more recently. And it's super cool. And, I do have, I'll pull up and folks are like, oh, you're the guy from the video. I'm like, yeah, it's our family business. They're like, we thought you were an actor. I'm like, that's nice of you to lie to me.
But I am a musician.
Yeah, you kind of sort of are, right? Oh, this has been so much fun. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us, man.
And office number real quick is just going to be 770-928-3667. If you guys here in the local Woodstock and really the metro Atlanta area. I mean, we go as high as far north as Dawsonville, as far south as like the Midtown Buckhead area. So we've got a pretty wide, area of coverage. I know a lot of my, other GC and trades people really only like to stick to a small, because good for them if they can stick to a smaller territory. But we believe in going where folks want us, so within a certain limit, we've had to turn down jobs like in Tucker and the Lanaga is a bit of a pain to get to, but I tell myself it's the same as if I was driving in traffic to Atlanta.
True.
It's just no traffic, but yeah, no, we're just grateful for the opportunity to be here today, let people know a little bit more about us. And hopefully you can come back in a year and tell you that I haven't tanked us, So
well, I think that might be fun, right? Like when the baton gets passed or we're getting close. Let's do that.
Yeah, I would love that.
Let's plan on doing that. The threebrotherspainting.com, is it the number 3 or you
it's
spell out
spelled
the word?
out Three Brothers. Great question. It's spelled out threebrotherspainting.com. I think both will get you there, to be honest, but I know that in all of our business cards.
Ashley probably bought the other URL for you.
I'm sure that she did. She
or at least tried.
Way smarter than I am.
Oh, well, it's been so much fun. Oscar, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. Until next time, this is Stone Payton for our guests this morning, Kara Frenkel and Oscar Velez, and everyone here at the Business RadioX family saying we'll see you next time on Cherokee Business Radio.